Please don't speak to us. He got hit with some shit. He was speaking tough. Beat it up. I'm a dip. I can't sleep with her. And get real while I sleep. Gotta keep it tough.
Happy Thursday.
Yes, indeed.
Welcome to the BS with Tina, Loretta, and company.
Yes, you know what it is.
Yes, my name is Tiance Knows It All, and I'm here with my beautiful co-host.
Yes, I am LJ the Peacemaker, doing peaceful things, shining the light on the brighter side.
Yes. Shining light on brighter side.
I love that.
I love it. Me too. And you know, happy Thursday. Happy birthday to my brother-in-law, Steve Dew. He's 51 years old today.
Happy birthday.
Him and my sister on the other side of the world. They're in Mexico right now, in Cabo, living their best life.
Good for them.
Yes, enjoying the moments that we have, the ones that we treasure with the people we love most. And I wish I was there with them. But I'm not hating. No, I just wish I was there also. But yeah, we're here every Thursday, giving that good word, talking that good talk. Today is my son's 8th grade graduation.
Wow. Yesterday was my daughter's.
Yes. Congratulations to them and all the 2022 graduates. That shit sounds crazy. 2022.
Yes, it sure does.
Yeah, it sounds crazy. We have almost high schoolers. Well, we have high schoolers going to, this year. And, it's tough. It's tough raising children, and it's tough living life, and it's tough working. But life is beautiful. It's magnificent.
It absolutely is. It all depends on how you look at it.
It definitely depends on how you
gotta
look
look
at
on
it.
the brighter side.
Not the BS, but the BS.
Yes.
And my coworker always says, this life is beautiful, but the world is ghetto. And I completely agree with her. And but we just moving forward, and we're striving for better, and all the hard work and energy and sweat and blood and tears and all that good and bad shit.
Right.
Bad shit is the BS. Look at that. But today or days like this show you why you do the things that you do and why you strive for more every day, because the accomplishments and the celebration and all that, the reasoning to why we are, we want to be successful,
right?
And you see these beautiful children receiving these awards and and going on to the next level, and like the valedictorian and salutatorian, and they were girls. They were girls, because who run the world?
Girls.
Absolutely. And there was a lot of boys who won as well, and it was just so beautiful to watch, and it makes me sad. It's a bittersweet, because
that's the BS too.
That's the BS too. The bittersweet. Cap that. Those are acronyms we're working with right now. I love it. And there are still people who are suffering, like with Texas and the shootings and the killings, and and people at this time of the year are not able to be as celebratory as we can be. And so our hearts go out to them, and we still want to take the time to acknowledge our side and what we're doing and all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
So it weighs heavy on you, but we have a beautiful guest in the building.
Yes. Well, I mean, you know that we always have the most fabulous company.
We do.
So
all
tonight, I'm super excited.
Tell us.
Repping Jersey, Hudson County hard. We got in the building.
All day,
physical graffiti.
Thank you, sis. Bless. I
Salute
appreciate
to
that.
Jersey.
Jersey all day.
Yes. Hudson County. That's West New York, Union City, North Bergen, Jersey City. All of that.
LJ knows Hudson County.
I lived in all those areas.
And that's what it is. That's that Hudson County connection.
Yes,
right there.
I'm a Brooklyn girl, but yes, I am Hudson County.
Nice.
Oh, man,
my dad lived in Jersey.
I love it.
So I would travel to Jersey every so often, but I love it. I was in Jersey not too long ago, and I was like, hi, house.
Hi, house. No, that's what's up. Yeah, and we're so close. You from Brooklyn?
I'm from Brooklyn.
Dope.
We close.
My pop's from Queens, so
okay.
I grew up in Queens, back and forth from Jersey
so
too.
you have to travel the boroughs.
For sure,
It's
yeah,
always in your heart. I mean, New York, we tough. We We stick together as much as we can. We could be rough and tough on each other, but we're rough and tough. So it holds us
Absolutely.
together. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, definitely.
So tell us where you grew up in Queens, you said? Oh no, your father's from Queens.
So my father's from Queens. I grew up in Jersey, but I think just having like most of my family from my dad's side are actually in America, whereas my mom's side of the family, they're all still in Ecuador.
Okay.
So the only family I really had was the ones in Queens. So I spent a lot of time in Jackson Heights, Elmhurst, like Flushing, the Seven
Okay.
Line. That
Nice.
was like, Rosewood Ave.
Okay.
I used to go to the parades that they used to have in the park in Flushing.
Oh,
Like, they used
Flushing
to have-
Meadow Park.
Yeah,
Yes,
they used
yes,
to have
yes.
the Ecuadorian. Mad Ecuadorians used to come out, so it was a big
Nice.
part of like my childhood and
Yes.
development. And like later on, I realized that it also like influenced me a lot too. Growing up, I used to get my bootleg CDs in Queens when I was growing up.
Used to travel to get the good. You ain't get that in Jersey.
nah.
Nah.
I had to come to Queens.
Yeah,
Nah,
you
but
had
we had ours, but at the time, like
Yeah,
I would
it's
get
just
them from
like
New
you
York.
find. Yeah, you know where the location is.
For sure.
But that's so dope. And so you were born here?
No, I was born in Guayaquil, Ecuador. So shout outs to all my Ecuadorians,
Yes.
South America, all my family in Guayaquil,
Beautiful.
So yeah, I was born there, but I came very young, like a year and a half,
Okay.
So it's in your soul, baby.
I was a baby.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much from
But it's
Jersey.
in your
but
soul. Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
yeah.
That's so beautiful. I always wish I
sure.
was. I'm Puerto Rican, but I always wish I was born in Puerto Rico. And then I'm like, Mom, why did you come here? She was like, I was too young to know. But that's dope when you're born
Abroad.
abroad.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, for
Mhm.
sure.
Because you
'Cause-
feel at home, and then you can go home, and you can
Oh,
come
wow.
home, and you can go back home.
Exactly. You got dual homes,
Yes,
for
yes,
sure.
yes. I didn't have that because my mom came early, so we didn't really have the opportunity to know anyone that was over there until I got
Right.
older. Then when I got married, then my husband had his family, so
Right,
that's how we
yeah.
went back and forth. And now I just love
Where's
it.
your husband from?
Aguadilla, Puerto Rico.
He's from Puerto Rico too.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
but
he's
all
from
right.
Puerto Rico.
I got Puerto Rican cousins and best friends, so we
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Listen, we the same.
Yeah.
We all the same. We bleed the same color.
Absolutely.
We breathe the same air. So that's what it is.
I agree 100%.
So what
Definitely.
school? Where did you go to school?
So I grew up in Hudson County. So I lived primarily in North Bergen for most of like my education. Like I moved to Union City for a bit, but I graduated high school in North Bergen.
Okay.
So that's where I graduated, North Bergen, New
Nice.
Jersey. So shout outs to
Wow.
all my Bruins out there. You already
Yeah.
know.
That's the slang, right? The Bruins.
The Bruins, yeah, you know. gotta rap.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So where you get the name Physical Graffiti from?
Yo, physical graffiti, man, it's a funny story. There's many layers to it. I'm gonna try to keep it brief or somewhat. So it started like this. Like obviously that's a Led Zeppelin album. So first and foremost, it's a legendary rock album,
Mhm.
right? So I do enjoy the album. I do enjoy Led Zeppelin. I love all genres of music. But obviously I love the name itself, like just
Right.
physical graffiti, right? And I think around the time I was really coming to kind of know myself better as a person. And I still didn't know because obviously we're always growing and learning. But at
Right.
the time,
Every day.
I think I was starting to become more aware of myself as a person, and I was getting more involved with the arts. And I had a few friends that were doing graffiti. I was mainly like lookout, so I wasn't really tagging like that. My tags wasn't ill like that, although it is the only thing I ever got arrested for was
Wow.
graffiti.
Okay.
And I was like looking out. Well, I had tagged up that night, but it wasn't my fault. We got caught. But anyways, that's a different story. But I was just like really starting to meet all different types of creative people. Anyways, the name was my screen name. So
Okay.
I know I'm probably a little older than I look, but it was my AOL screen name, right?
Wow.
And so
No, that's something that you
Talk
say that
about
because LJ the Peacemaker was my first AOL email address
There we go,
that I
there we
made,
go.
and then I just
Yo.
took
So
it
if
and ran
somebody
with it.
try to take it, we like, go back to AOL.
Go back, exactly. Go back
AIM.
20 years.
Yo, we got to give it up to AOL. It birthed mad names, mad
Yes.
aliases.
Oh,
So
man.
it actually evolved from that. So check it. It was my screen name, and rest in peace, my brother Reno, which is like the first producer. The person that actually taught me how to like kind of rap. He kind of showed me. I was free writing a lot, and he kind of showed me how to convert that into like bars. So he was technically the first person that I worked with musically like that. But he when we started making music, I never thought I was actually gonna like actually be making music. Like I've always loved music, and I wanted to sing when I was younger, and then I was like, oh, I'm kind of not great singing. Now I sing off key all the time. It don't even matter. I'm just
Right,
it's a
you
vibe,
just
right?
feeling
It's a
it.
feeling. So I really didn't, and I was a hip hop head. Like I went through my stages of rap music, of hip hop, and so I really didn't think I was gonna be making hip hop music at that time, right? But it kind of felt so natural. It felt like I've been doing it because I had been writing for many years. And so Reno was like, after we started recording a few songs, he was like, yo, we should put this stuff out. And MySpace was popping off at that time.
Wow.
And he's like, yo, we
gosh.
should put some stuff on MySpace. I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, he's like, and we was like, what name am I going to use? And I always liked my first name. So I always thought I would use my first name. It's Crystal Garcia, but it's spelled all like exotic and stuff.
Okay.
It's like with a K and 2 L's and whatnot.
I
So
love it. Cristal.
Cristal. Yeah, most people call me Cristal,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
love
So
it. That's one of my cousin's names.
oh, word?
Yeah.
Oh, no, shout out to
Crystal.
her.
Crystalie, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. But long story short, we decided to rock with my screen name. He was like, you just use your screen name.
That's it.
So I was like, all right. So we rocked with it. I started putting music up on MySpace, and I think at the time, like it's really what helped me get my first shows, my first hip hop interviews, and like really like people actually started to like the music. But I gave it more of a solid definition after
Right.
that, which was and I'll go. It's a long story, right? But basically,
that's fine. We're here.
I started applying more of. So what I added onto that was, you know how when graffiti first came out, right? It wasn't really acknowledged as an art form like that. It was
Right.
more, you know, like cause kind of rebellious for the times.
Yes.
And same thing with hip hop. People didn't really respect it as a genre of
Mhm.
music. So being a woman and being a woman who's doing hip hop and kind of embodying art, I just felt like physical graffiti was kind of a bold statement for me doing that. So I kind
Right.
of added that layer onto the definition, the meaning, and I rocked with it.
I love it.
never let
Absolutely.
that
I mean, I definitely think it's a powerful name, you know,
Thank you.
and it's very intriguing too, because it's like, oh, okay, well, what does that mean? And now that you've broken it down for us, yeah, it's
'cause
definitely very
generally
deep.
like graffiti, you know, art. So
For
it's like
sure.
a form of physical, like I can bring you whatever art form you need.
Exactly.
Writing, singing, off key,
Yeah.
rapping.
You already know.
Yeah, no, but it's dope, you know.
I
It's like you gotta
appreciate that.
tap into whatever feels good.
Absolutely.
You know, whatever
Absolutely.
feels good. So shout out to your brother, may he rest in peace.
Absolutely,
you know,
man,
for,
Reno.
for putting even that on. Then this
Yeah.
is MySpace. Like, let's put it on,
Yeah.
Right.
and let the people see.
Yeah.
And you know, it was brilliant.
No,
there
it
at the time.
absolutely was. And now it's like you're carrying on that legacy for him. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Everything you do, he was part of the foundation of
Yes.
it. So that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Yes. Shout outs to him. I'm
Yeah.
forever in debt because recording music definitely changed my life. And shout outs to Mikey too. He actually was the first. I was trying to make beats first. And I was
Okay.
working with this kid named Mikey.
Talk
and
about it. We were trying to make beats. We were rhyming. We were rapping. We were singing.
Yeah,
Nah,
Definitely.
that's-
yes, I was trying to make beats first, but shout out to Mikey because Mikey was teaching me how to make beats, and then he found out I was writing on the side, and he was like, "No, you got to meet
we
Reno."
had
And
a-
that
Nice.
introduction led to this, and I owe a lot to hip hop culture and music. So recording, definitely, it changed a lot in my life. So shout outs to them for
Yes.
believing in my words like that.
Absolutely.
That's what's
So,
up,
yo,
definitely.
your do you have a song that has your beat and
And your lyrics?
Oh, like a
Like
beat
that
that
you
I produced? Oh,
produced,
that's
yeah.
what I hold up. I'm about to put my hair up. I have this do I do with my bucket hat because I'm a little hot. So hold up. one
Yeah, I
second.
know. We're all hot. We
So,
came in here,
we
we was like,
spicy in
it's
here,
hot.
baby.
Nah, you good. This is my like do, you know. this is
we
my-
shining
when
so
I get
bright
hot.
and
Do the
whatnot,
do,
you
I
know?
love it.
So about the beat making. So it's funny, right? So I probably look crazy right now because
Nah, you
But,
look beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, sis. I appreciate that. But so I was trying to make beats at first, right? I think I was trying to do everything at first. I swore I could break dance when I was like 7. My mom was like, "Nah, you're
She's
just
like,
dirty
"Nah,
in the
that's not
floor.
gonna
What are you doing?"
work."
But when I was trying to make beats, I remember I went to I'm kind of, I don't know if I'm a late bloomer or not with music, but I was writing a lot, always been into music and art, but I didn't really start recording till I was like 19. So I was like already like in college. But before college, I didn't want to go to college. I had a moment where I realized that the school system was completely flawed and the loads, and I was like, nah, I ain't
Right,
doing
right.
that. And my mom dragged me to she dragged me to like community college.
So you were musically delayed, but not academically delayed.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like I started recording music a little later, but everything's meant to be, and everybody's in their journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're writing, what you mean? Like, were you writing like in a journal? Were you writing
Yes.
music?
Yeah, so I used to call it free writing.
Okay.
Right. And so sometimes it would be like poems, analogies, and then they started becoming more like song like.
Mhm.
But I really didn't know. For me, I called it free writing. But I think they were developing into rhymes later
Right.
on. Like
Yes.
my cousin was from Queens, and we used to kind of
Back and
battle
forth
and rap, but I was kind of
yeah.
in denial.
Right.
It's so funny. My cousin, shout outs to her. She's from Louisiana, Brittany. I did a short year where I lived in Louisiana, and I just hung out with her. She came to visit. Haven't seen her in years.
Wow.
And I was laughing because I was telling her, I was like, yo, do you remember when I lived in Louisiana that one year? It was my sophomore year in high school. I used to have a binder with like mad raps, but I was in hardcore denial. Like I was like, nah, I'm not rapping. I don't know. I didn't feel like I was
Good enough.
qualified
Yeah.
yet,
No, I
right?
completely
I didn't feel
understand
like
that.
I could call myself an MC at that time. And so I remember my cousin, it had a microphone on the front, right? And I had mad, like they were rhymes already at that point. I just didn't really realize
They
it.
were stacked. In
And
there.
my cousin was like, "You're a rapper." And she like took my binder. She ran with all my writings, and she's like, "Oh, you're a rapper. You rap." Da-da-da. She was like trying to read my rhymes, and I used to chase her for my binder. It's so funny because we just had this conversation yesterday,
That's
so
dope.
I
That's
find it
dope.
humorous.
Full
But
circle all the
Yes,
time. Shout out to
definitely.
Ayana Ellis. That's my girl. She has a book called The Full Circle, and it's
that's
amazing.
awesome. Shout out to
But
her.
yeah, it's always like it always comes back around. Like however, like whatever you do, and that's your calling because right,
Absolutely.
you're
Yeah.
doing this from young. You're just
Yeah.
writing. You're like you're figuring it out. Like you said,
Yeah.
every day it's a learning process.
Definitely.
And
So,
yeah,
go
to
ahead,
answer, I know I went far off the rim, but to answer your question, circle back to the beat making. When I started, so I ended up going. I was like, I'm going to college. I'm getting in debt. I'm taking all music electives. So I
Okay.
took all like music.
Very
business.
strategic.
Exactly. It was what birthed this actually because I took radio production, music business, everything, all electives. I didn't take like no like other classes. I was like, all right. And I took electronic music, Pro Tools. And what ended up happening was that's how I met Mikey. And we used to cut class. I met DJ Cool Herc actually because of
Oh,
Bergen Community, because
wow.
he was doing, I went up to him, I shook his hand. It was a moment. So all those things led to me actually starting to record and converting my writings into like, raps. And Mikey and me used to cut class. We used to go to Dunkin' Donuts, try to make beats. We used to go to his house, try to make beats. But like I said, that was when he saw that I was writing and he introduced me to Reno. So I didn't really, the beats I was making was horrible. But my teacher used to call me a mad scientist. I couldn't do drums and I really didn't have understanding. But then once I started actually making music,
Mhm.
a part of me always was like trying to be a part of the soundscape because I always had like abstract ideas and things that I wanted to do. And I felt, there was many times I felt limited. I produced a song once called "You Don't Produce Shit." It was recorded on a 4-track in my room with a turntable, so it was very analog, very like that. But then I think the closest that I've actually gotten is this unreleased
The
album.
humility is amazing.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
We had the turntables. We had we was writing. That's amazing to me.
But the close to answer your question, it's something that I'm definitely going to immerse myself in my present state.
Mhm.
And the closest I've gotten to it was an album called Geometry that hasn't been released yet. And I executive produced that with Kukuman and Lobo Funk out from Germany. So shout outs to them. I'm putting that project out this year, brothers. I'm not holding on to it anymore.
That's what's
but,
up. We'll be looking
You
out
heard the
for it.
slide.
Yes,
You heard
absolutely.
the slide. That was put in there. I love
Yes,
it.
I love it
it, Maggie.
too.
Working.
Definitely.
So, do you have an album? Do you have a song? Do you,
yeah. But like in general. Oh yeah, I have
well, Word Shapes and Colors is an EP, right?
Yeah, well, actually, I've about a total of music that's out. So basically, Thought Criminal was my first album,
Okay.
Full
self-released in 2011.
Thought Criminal.
Thought Criminal. So Thought Criminal was my first album. It's all on Spotify and like all the streaming sites.
Okay.
So my first album, I was recording a lot of songs and like I started making music between 2008 and 2011 was when I put my first album out, but I was recording songs and
From
performing
before
for
that.
those before that. So 2011 is really, I considered like the first year.
Okay.
It's 2011, my first album came out. That was Thought Criminal. After that, I had a long period where I was doing vinyl
okay.
and a lot of my music was only released on wax. in between that, I did have an album
Wow.
called Fizzy Lift and Drink, Funky Hudson one. So I have a few projects. I have a
Fizzy
lot
what?
of Fizzy Lift and Drink.
I like
I
that. Willy
like
Wonka.
Exactly. You already know. So I have various albums. So I don't know if I understood your question correctly, but yeah, I have
No,
a
no,
lot
no,
of
no.
projects.
That
yeah.
was perfect. I just wanted to know if you had something prior to
Oh
what you're
yeah,
working,
yeah,
what you're
Right.
coming
yeah.
out
A
with
lot of
now.
So, like, I'm very interested to hear about word shapes and colors because the whole integration of like the art, the design, the clothing, all of
Yeah.
it. Like, what is really the idea behind that? I think it's amazing.
Thank you, sis. I appreciate that, and I'm glad that you bring it up because it's definitely the current flow of where I'm at right now, working
Right.
with music. So I think I've been making music now for what, about 13 years, involved in music
She's
and
a
art.
veteran.
Thank you, sis. Likewise, yeah. I got a video of LJ holding it down. Like, hey, she came by our studio.
We have
That's-
to do something.
we have to talk
I
about
gotta
that
see
too.
Yeah,
this
because
happen.
we definitely got some plans to work on the Brighter Side album,
Okay,
but we definitely
that's
would
dope.
love to do
man.
some collaborating
That'd be
with
great.
you.
That'd be
Talk
blessed.
about
Yeah.
it. I have a verse.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing that verse. That's
Nah,
what's
that's-
up. More power to that project. More light to that. But yeah, what was the
Oh,
question?
so
Oh,
word
word shapes and colors.
Yes.
Hey, there we go. So 13 years. I feel like a lot of the years that I've been making music so far have been I've been a student, and I put myself in a situation to really learn why I'm doing this, what it represents to me, what does it mean as a whole, and what I'm contributing to this artistic thread, because I respect music so much, and art and hip hop, that I'm not just here I'm just not here like, I'm here. I want to contribute
For
something.
the long,
Yeah,
for
for
the
the
long
long
run,
term,
yes.
longevity, right? That's always been important to me. So I'm at the stage of my creative career, or with myself, right? Because for me, music is in line with my personal growth as a human being, and it's
Absolutely.
always been hand in hand for me. So word shapes and colors is the full evolution of physical graffiti, in the sense that I finally kind of understand the visual component and how much of an influence it has in me musically, and just in general for my creativity overall. So like, word shapes and colors is a creative ecosystem. So I created that as my house to basically allow me to freely create with all the mediums. And ideally, it also allows me to make tangible concepts that are inspired by the music. And I think a lot of that came from, so I began making music. I did vinyl for 8 years. And the way we pressed records was very independently. So it was independently from all the way from distribution to manufacturing,
Wow.
all, financing it. And basically I fell in love with being the self sustainability, like being 100%
Involved,
involved
Right.
from beginning to end, and being fully invested. Like I got super, like I've been able to travel through word of mouth. I've traveled like to Europe, met a lot of great people, and I kind of got to see the power of music,
Wow, good
the
for
power
you.
of words. And with the records, we used to do handmade covers, right? So there, the visual concept started to kind of,
Amazing.
started to grow more. And shout outs to Henry Quester. I know we
Yes,
both
yes.
know him.
What up, Henry?
He
Yeah, he's extremely artistic, and I feel like an inspiration to anybody
Oh
who knows
yeah.
him.
So I have to say this story because this is what he did to me one day. So um I used to draw and paint since I was a kid. I think it was just as much as important to me as music, but I had cousins that were like I have a cousin who's an amazing artist, and I have my brothers and other cousins that, like, I used to see them paint like people and like landscapes. And so I do
Wow.
more abstract
hmm
art. So at the time I kind of really felt like, well, what I was doing was not art. And I remember being in the studio early on when I was working with Henry, and he's a painter as well.
Yes.
And he used to be like, he said, stop. He said, stop calling your drawings doodles, man. He was like, yo, like, stop saying they're sketches. And he was like, you need perspective and you need to paint big. And he locked me in the studio one day with like a canvas this big.
Wow.
And he said, get it out, like, just rock out. And from that moment on, like, I just really kept going. And like, he kind of unlocked that for me. Because at the
Wow.
time I wasn't fully respecting my artwork like that.
Mhm.
And then
you kind
throughout-
of compare yourself. to
Right,
Yeah, I was-
exactly.
yeah, I
and
was-
what you think
exactly.
is beautiful.
yeah, I was like, oh, art is only drawing an apple, or like, not to discredit any
No,
realists
no,
or
of
any
course
people
not,
that
of
I
course
just
not.
in my mind, in your school they're teaching you how to like do this stuff. So I was like, oh, and then and also I was around, and I also think just learning about artists, people started telling me like, you should look at Wassily Kandinsky, and I'm like, who's that? And then I started to see that my creative ideas had a home, that there was
Right.
people that were also
also
abstract, you know what I
relatable, yes.
mean? And to kind of add on more to that, so that's kind of where
And it's like a style, right? Like
Exactly.
it's like
Right.
it's just
Yeah.
a style. It's a form of art, but it's a style, and everyone has their own style. And you just gotta find your,
yeah,
what suits you, and
Definitely.
be okay with it.
exactly. And that was the thing too, was that for me, every time I drew was very intuitive. So I used to have moments where I really just was like going off and doing these things, and like sometimes when I would see other artists, they were like sketching it out, outlining it, and I don't really paint like that.
Right.
Like I
Yeah.
paint very instinctively, and so that's something that he helped
It's
me.
different,
He helped me
yeah.
identify that it was a
It's
natural
okay
thing.
to be
Yeah,
different.
Well,
I
I just
like
want
that.
to say that like your ability to articulate your passion is really awe-inspiring, because
Thank
I
you.
mean,
Absolutely,
I feel
agree.
like, you're actually expressing your passion, and we're receiving it. Like, we get it. You know what I
Thank you.
mean?
I
And a lot of
appreciate that.
times when people are trying to express what's inside of them, it is very abstract. So the listener is not necessarily receiving it in the way they mean, but I feel like your
Yeah, the
depictions are
format
very
is
vivid,
definitely, yes.
and like, I feel you.
Thank you. No, I appreciate
And I'm like,
that.
I think I need to organize my stuff a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah, right?
No,
I'm like, okay, we want to go to your class.
I appreciate that, and like to kind of like just kind of make it make sense with Word Shapes and Colors, and where I'm at now was so like that's kind of where I started to really start to kind of consider my art more. And then I was kind of a big on, like, when we started doing the one of a kind covers, I was like always like, yeah, we should draw, we should paint on them. I was always trying to go out there like that. So I think that was a early phase where I started to respect my visual art. But throughout time, it just kept increasing. And I remember we used to sell records on West 4th Street in the city, and I used to go down the block. I remember, out of necessity, I wanted to make art, make a living, and
Yeah.
it's not always
It's
easy,
not,
and
Right.
especially when you're
That's
doing
definitely-
it independently,
Yes.
right?
Freelance
so-
work and waiting on the next
Yeah.
call.
And so I was like, I would go overseas, sell records, but then sometimes, you have enough to produce the next record, but then it's not enough to survive or feed. So it's like,
Right.
one day
you
I
need
just
to
went,
print them.
you need to print
You need to send them.
You need to send.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So I just went down the block in Greenwich Village, and I just posted up with like my artwork. I just started painting on canvas, and I just started doing. I was selling it, and again, I'm kind of, aside from early on Quester kind of like being like, yo, you need to like paint big. I'm really self-taught, and like, what I'm saying, like I really didn't have like the schooling or things like that, and I really didn't like to study other
The
artists.
determination, the perseverance.
Amazing.
Perseverance was
Absolutely.
the vocabulary word. Excuse me, at my son's graduation.
Oh,
And
that's a
that
beautiful
is-
word.
It is a beautiful
It's an
word.
amazing word.
It is, and that we can all have the idea.
Right.
I have the ideas all the time,
Yeah.
but to execute,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
to say, I'm gonna go and do this, I'm gonna try it.
Yeah,
To to self teach yourself.
Yeah.
To say, I don't have the money for school. I don't have,
Yeah.
like, but finding a way, because
Yeah.
when there's a will, there's a way.
Absolutely.
Or when there's a
Absolutely.
will, there's a relative. That's what they said.
And I hope it's a big inheritance.
That's a bar right there. I like that one. That's one.
Let's use it. We're gonna patent that. But before you finish,
Oh, for sure.
we have some word, shape, and color gifts.
Oh, yeah.
She
nice.
gave us
You brought us gifts.
I had to bring some
we
gifts.
love gifts. Thank you, my sister.
So,
Nice.
if-
Yes. You
if
see
y'all
the
wa-
logo, everybody.
if y'all want, y'all can open it up and decide. See, I'm gonna let y'all decide, but I brought 2 different colorways.
Okay.
Oh,
So there's
nice.
there's 4 colorways in total. So one's white and
She's
one's
wearing that color, so I think
Yeah,
that means she likes that.
All right, but
Nice. Oh,
and a notebook.
Oh,
Oh,
my
yeah. So these
OMGs.
nice.
We need a brighter side collaboration.
Oh, for sure.
definitely,
This
definitely.
is beautiful. Thank
That's
you.
what's up. I'm wearing mine next week.
I appreciate that.
You'll
Thank
see
you
me
guys.
in
Too.
it.
They're unisex, so they fit a little loose. So let me know how you guys like it. Oh, you know,
I
I had
love
to
it.
throw in
And
some
I got the
stickers.
stickers, and I'm
That's
mad
what's
that I
up.
left
Thank
your
you
stuff.
so much.
No,
Much
for sure.
appreciated.
Yeah, we gotta send you some brighter side stuff.
Absolutely,
Yes.
I appreciate that. And those are like the first to kind of answer, to continue answering your question about weird
Yes.
shapes and colors. I feel like it's so many things. These are the first products inspired by music. That's where the EP comes in.
Okay.
It's all this EP and Weird Shapes and Colors. I launched it this year through an exhibition.
Right. I
And-
saw that.
Wow.
And this is the first clothing, like the first physical, tangible items of many more to come.
Okay.
But this one's solely based. That's why it's the logo, because it's introducing the logo
I
and the
love
color
this.
palette and the meaning behind it. So
And it's not
That's
pizza.
wonderful. Yes.
it's
Thank
not
you.
pizza.
Thank
Shout out
you.
to the 99 cents pizza
Yes.
spot
Yes.
on J Street that gave me a mask because they thought I was also asking for a pizza box, but I wasn't.
He was like, nope, I got these gifts.
That's funny. Well, people,
Box
check
is
out the
awesome.
visual presentation of this, the lovely box with
I
the
love
logo.
it.
And then inside we got the notebook with the logo as well.
I
So
love-
it's very clean presentation, very artistically designed.
I
We
love-
respect it
Thank
and
you
we
so
appreciate
much.
it.
And I'm
Thank
in
you.
love.
I appreciate it.
And my color, and it matched my sneakers.
Oh, yeah, I saw you and I was like, oh, nice. All right. Like, it made me think of it.
That's
Yeah.
That's
what's
the
up.
vibe.
Yes.
You on the brighter side of the best side. What does support mean to you?
What does support mean to me? Damn, that's
she
a question.
was like, boom.
Boom, right? Yeah, I was like, all right, support.
Because we right now wondering. We trying to figure it out.
Okay.
You know, like
so
yeah, go ahead.
no,
tell
no,
me.
you tell me like
You know, because sometimes it's personal, sometimes it's
Right.
online, sometimes
Oh.
it's friends,
Right.
sometimes
Okay.
it's family.
Sometimes it's a podcast with
So,
your
yeah.
host and co-host.
Yes,
That you
shout
know,
out to
since
the
you were,
Brighter
like,
Side podcast.
serious,
Yes, shout out.
since
This
you know-
is support right here. Shout out
This
to
is
the Brighter
support.
Side podcast.
Absolutely.
Thank
Sometimes
you.
it comes from strangers.
Oh,
A lot of
mhm.
times
A
it
lot of
comes from
times. Definitely.
strangers.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the strangers that love us, because there's a lot of strangers that love us online.
Definitely. When I was at the Denim and Diamonds event, the guy was like, "Oh yeah, listen to every episode." I was like, "Oh, what's your
Well,
name?"
Let me jot that down. No, my
Yeah,
people.
I was like, "That is
dope.
what's up." Yes.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the people. listening
Yeah, all
right
the
now.
supporters.
We
We love you guys. So tell us what support means.
So definitely. So if we're talking, are we talking support on like a creative level, career wise, or we just talking about in general? in life?
Generally, support.
So I think support could come from anywhere that you seek to find what you need to help yourself sustain, whether that's emotionally, you know what I'm saying, or if it's business wise. Finding, I'm learning this too, right? Because it's actually a huge lesson I'm learning right now. Like finding people that are more experienced than myself in areas. Like I
Mhm.
reached out to somebody recently. I was like, listen, I need somebody who's a little older than me, who's lived life a little bit more, that knows something about more about something than I do. You get me, right?
Yes.
So like I've
Good
been
for you, because sometimes people only want to be the smartest person in the room.
Mhm.
no, that is the lesson for me right now is I try to do everything by myself because I'm so used to it.
Right.
And because I kind of thoroughly enjoy being a part of everything. But I'm at a point now with the conception of Weird Shapes and Colors, it taught me that. It's like now it's serious. It's like your mind can only handle so
Certain
much.
things.
And
Absolutely.
everything in your life, whether it's your health, whether it's your family, whether it's your education, whether it's your business, it all requires a lot. And I'm
Of
sure with you
attention.
guys running the podcast, you know, it's so many different elements. It's not just coming here and being on the mic. It's
Right.
the post production. It's the communication with people that are being guests.
come
It's
on, yes.
it comes with so
Absolutely.
many layers. So for me,
Right, the promoting,
yeah,
the
it's so many things.
transportation.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, no, absolutely.
lot of shit.
So to me, I think first you got to have that support with yourself.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Ooh,
You gotta
say that a
support
little
yourself.
louder for the people in the
Yeah.
back.
You got to support yourself. You got to believe in yourself. You got to take care of yourself. You got
That's
to
right.
nurture yourself. And then when you need help, don't be afraid to ask, don't be afraid to pay. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yes.
Like,
True that.
and if you can't, I understand. Yo, it's hard. Like, trust me, like it's hard. It's hard having to be like, yo, you got to get a side job, a second job. I've been there. I've traveled, lived off of small gigs, selling records. I've come back and held down full-time jobs. I've come down and held 3 jobs. I know what it takes.
It's
and
necessary.
it's so many
in order
different
to follow
things.
your
Right.
dream. You
Absolutely.
have to have a bag. You have to have
Yeah.
some type of funds
Yeah.
so that you could get to go. I mean,
Right.
it's necessary.
No,
Yeah.
definitely, because I mean, it requires an investment in all aspects, an
Yeah.
investment of time, of energy, of
Yeah.
effort, of money. You know what I'm saying?
Money,
Humility as well.
Yeah, all of that.
Definitely. And also to grow and expand beyond a certain point requires you to utilize resources that are outside of yourself.
Yeah,
yes, and it
yeah.
exhausts your energy.
Right?
Doing
And
all
you
that.
can't
I
take
got
over
tired
the
right now. I get tired thinking about
Definitely. And you can't take over the world by yourself.
it. No.
Like, you know what I'm
it's-
saying?
Nah, I'm
Too
learning
bad.
that hard. This
No.
has been my lesson this year. It's like, yo, like it really. I've always worked with people, but now it's like really understanding that we have to really empower each other, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Especially when you're like, especially if you see people with the same drive as you. I think it's easier to empower each other, because there's moments where it gets difficult, right? Because you might be in a situation where people are not as committed as you, right?
Right.
Or they don't understand how much work it takes. But I think the more you grow and the more you keep persistent, sooner or later you come across people with the same drive as you.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
that's a
Yes,
fact.
I agree.
You hear
with
that, people? The
For
hard
sure.
work brings the
The-
committed people to you.
Yes, not focusing on the people who are not doing the work.
Right,
Right,
exactly.
because then you like kind of lift your feet up off the ground, like we were talking about the last time, and you kind of be off balance
Yeah.
because you just concentrating on things that are not important,
Yes.
opposed to supporting yourself,
That's
having your own back. Take all those things you just said. It's
For
like
sure.
at the end of the day, it's me versus me,
Yeah.
me
Right.
against me.
Yeah.
Self care isn't selfish.
Nah.
Absolutely not. No, it's a necessity.
I had to teach myself that, like, putting myself first was like, wait a minute, I gotta make sure they good, make sure they okay, make sure they feel comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of like, walking on eggshells and like not being like the solid person that you want to be, because I don't want to make this person feel like that. I
Right.
don't want to make.
Right. Yeah, and that happens a lot.
Definitely.
So that comes with
growing.
growing and putting yourself first, and self-care is so important, because if you're good, everybody else could be good around
Absolutely. Absolutely. And only when you're good can you be your best self. So that's when you're of best value and most value to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, absolutely.
you, to anyone.
Yeah, for sure.
I love the way that sounds.
It was a good question.
I just like to intake, the fact that we cannot focus on the people who are not there,
Yeah.
Right.
or
And I-
who go ahead,
No,
who
I'm
don't
saying-
support.
No, I was gonna say is also like kind of like a lot of like what I realized and what I kind of how I go about that is I try to like love and respect everybody for where they're at in life, right?
Mhm.
So like I'm like hardly ever mad. Like it's frustrating sometimes, right?
Are you a Libra?
No, I'm a Virgo all day,
Yeah.
baby. You already know.
That's right next
check
door.
out check out Fall Vibes. Every fall you can check it out, get in the Virgo
Yes.
spirit.
So
But,
what's that? September?
September, yeah.
What?
So September 17th.
Nice.
I rep for my Virgos all day.
Nice.
But I feel like life is more expansive than that. But
No,
I like
no,
to say
of
I'm a Virgo
course.
though.
Yeah,
but, like,
of course,
I love it.
of
We
course.
could.
Me
Definitely.
too. I just like to be like, I'm a Libra.
Yeah,
Yes,
Libra,
and I'm a
Libra.
Scorpio.
Hey,
I like
oh,
saying that too
Scorpio.
because people get
Virgo,
scared.
Libra, Scorpio. That's the
I'll be like, I'm a
trifecta.
Scorpio.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you're a Scorpio.
Libra is when again?
We are a
Octo-
scale. Oh, it's October. October
Yeah,
19th.
Shout out to my
Mhm.
Libras. I'm cool with y'all Scorpios too.
Yeah.
Yeah. we all cool, but
Yeah.
No,
It's
but it's
all
some
up
people.
here.
There's 3 types to every sign. But I don't know. Some people are not with signs and stuff. I'll be reading them shits. I'm like, yep,
Yeah.
that's me.
No, but I mean, some people, they don't believe in it or they don't ascribe to it. But I definitely believe that they hold truth in a lot of characteristics of people. Like, you know what I'm saying? The sun, the moon, and the stars, the alignment of the planets.
cannot
Those are
deny
all
it.
factors.
Those are and I think it goes into a heavier science that some people don't might not get.
Right,
'Cause, like,
absolutely.
yeah, some people
Or
just-
maybe it's like contrary to their religious
Yeah,
beliefs or things
exactly.
like that, which it's like we're not talking about.
We're
that.
not talking exact. I'm just having to have sex with my pops, yo. He was in the car because they hear like horoscopes, astrology, and they are automatically kind of associate with something. But when you think about the sun, moon, and stars, it's a different thing,
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely. And then you think of too, like the whole creation, the universe, and God in general. Everything
Yeah.
is very, very specific.
Yeah.
So of course there's truth in all teachings. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
absolutely,
Nothing
yeah.
was haphazard
Yeah.
or by accident. It's like if
Yeah.
the planets were over here when you were
Yeah.
born, then it kind
I
of meant
think
something.
that means that, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I'm not an
But-
astrologist, but I think that works.
absolutely, absolutely. We like to read astrology and we also love to praise the Lord.
Amen. Amen and amen. What inspires you, Crystal?
But,
Cristal.
Cristal. I love it. I love that you call it with Cristal. I feel so at home now. I feel like
I
I'm
love
talking with the
it.
fams. But
Well,
what
you are.
I am.
You
You're
are.
very right, sis.
Yes.
I am with the fams.
You are with the family.
Definitely. I'm inspired by a lot of things. Mainly like life. You know, my experiences as a person. I was talking to like other fellow musicians and artists, and I think a lot of us agree that when we get to a certain point after you've been making music for a while, you start to really be inspired by what you're learning and your experiences, right? More than just like, because a lot of times people are like, what artists are you listening to? Or I think it gets to a point where, much respect to all the artists making music, but we love music, we support it, I listen to it, but I think you get to a point where you're more inspired by like what's going on around you, your
Yes.
surroundings, and what's going on inside
Sorry,
you.
Right.
Yes.
And for me, so that's a major influence. And then also like sometimes I'm inspired a lot by like architecture, like color palettes and patterns. Sometimes those things create like a sonic soundscape for me. And like a lot of times my music comes like in conceptual forms.
Okay.
And the way I relate it is like if I have like, I hardly ever make music that doesn't come associated with like a theme, of like
Of
either
some
a
sort.
narrative or an abstract narrative, or I'll associate with a color like this, like Funky Hudson
Or
One.
your name. Or
Yeah.
the name of, yes.
So like
you
Funky
always
Hudson One was
associate
like
it.
red, orange, yellow to me. And then like word shapes and colors and like the things that I'm doing, like there's certain sounds that kind of I get colors or shapes or textures, like patterns. So that inspires me too. Like I'll see certain colors together, or in my mind I'll see it like that. And so that's more of an abstract inspiration for me. And then the other is very grounded and rooted in like the life that I'm living and what I've learned so far,
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, that that holds a lot of weight. But I used to do a show prior to this called the Let's Talk About It show
Right.
at Desert Storm Radio. Shout out to Desert Storm. Shout out to DTF
Yo,
Radio, because we
yes,
in the building
yes,
every
Radio,
Thursday.
Yep,
Desert
thank you.
Storm too.
Yes.
For holding us down every week.
Always. And
sure.
I was doing a show, and we would interview artists and
Right.
and musicians, and people who are moving, shaking the world. I've interviewed so many, known legends like
Oh wow. Good for
Easy
you.
Mo
Shout outs
B.
to you.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
wow.
some
Moby. Oh,
Easy
dope.
Mo B and Sauce Money,
All
and
right.
so many to name from. So what I learned throughout the process was that their stories were so intriguing because the backstory,
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
how
right.
they made it to where they were,
Right.
where they grew up, why
Yeah.
they did what they did, and of course,
Yeah.
the music and the lights and the camera action is always so much fun.
Right.
But that was like, wait a minute,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
something more to just the person that we see, the name.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
for
that
sure.
that was inspiring for me, like coincides with the fact that
Oh, of course.
it's like it's more so of what they went through, the process.
Yeah. No.
Definitely.
It's very,
Absolutely,
very-
sis.
Definitely.
So
I mean,
shout
what-
out.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm
I
sorry.
was
Go
gonna say
ahead.
shout outs to you for putting in work and having all these
Thank
stories and being
you.
able to acknowledge that. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
I
so
bet.
that's where the brighter side came. I was like, we're
Yes.
gonna talk about the BS and the brighter side, and we have a lot of that shit. But we love having you here. Your
Yes,
energy,
yes.
you're so intellectual, very witty, comfortable, like charismatic.
Yes,
super,
and very
super dope.
secure in yourself. That comes
Yes.
across very clearly that you are comfortable with who you are. And I mean, it's inspiring.
Thank you, sis. And
Yes.
it takes a lot of work, but also shout outs to you guys too, because like what y'all are here too, and y'all are allowing me to be myself, right? Like who you
It's
are. So it's like a whole
reciprocation,
exchange. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yes.
for sure.
Definitely,
Yes,
definitely.
we love that.
And I mean, that's what
exchange.
we aspire to do here, you know, to create an experience as people come in here. We're just loving on them because we think what you do is dope and we want to tell you that. We think you're
Yes,
fly. Like,
yeah.
so, you know, and I feel
And
like
the world should know. Our
exactly the
world
world should know, and people need to see what love in action looks like.
Thank
Yes,
you.
And
and
this
what
is it.
hard work and perseverance.
That's right.
looks
That's
like,
right.
and continuing to strive for better. We all have situations. We all have issues. We all have
Absolutely.
drama, and
It's
you
called
know,
life.
we all have life,
For
right?
sure.
We all have
Yep.
life, and moving forward and just like focused on what is going to bring a better tomorrow or better you know, and,
Absolutely,
and,
yeah.
and finding who you are and what you do, because we don't know. I don't even know who the fuck I am right now. No.
Well, we all learning
we
every day.
figuring it out.
That's it.
But
That's
yeah,
it.
every day, and every day is a blessing, and I'm grateful, and we have to be appreciative to have that time so that we can learn more and that we can teach the
Right,
younger
absolutely.
how
Oh,
yeah,
you was
absolutely.
taught, and how you can go to your people and find what what'll take you to that next level.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Learning is never ending, and neither is love. Yeah, man. Tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, so Physical Graffiti is my artist name when I'm on the mic performing musically. So on all the streaming platforms. For a while a lot of my catalog was only on vinyl. So
Okay.
that change came in recent years with the conception of Word Shapes and Colors, because now,
Okay.
like, moving forward, that's like the house for everything that I do: music, art, and design. Physical Graffiti for the music, wordshapesandcolors.com is the website. It's also
And that's where they could buy the
yeah, you could buy the
purchase the
sweaters on
Nice.
wordshapesandcolors.com. You could also visit me. I have a studio at the Manna Contemporary in Jersey City, New Jersey. So if you haven't stopped by, I have an installation going on that kind of, entails, it's an abstract representation of everything we're talking about. And concrete too. There's,
Wow.
there's,
Oh, we have to come visit you over
Yeah.
there.
Please,
Yeah.
yeah, come
So
by.
how long is that running?
So I'm planning to keep that as of right now the way it is until as of right now end of July, but might be extending it because I have this concept that I'm trying to do. I'm
Okay.
still manifesting it, but I want to do something
The
that
thoughts and process.
yeah, the thoughts and process. So if it manifests the way that I want it to manifest, or the way that I'm hoping it manifests, or not hope,
It
but
will.
that I'm putting together,
Yeah.
Right.
it might be steady like that for a little bit longer. But
Okay,
as
Oh,
of
but
nice.
right
we
now,
have to come. So is it like an exhibit? Do you have
so yeah, so I have an artist studio. So technically, artist studios are supposed to be more like for working, but me, I'm a little bit I'm a little bit out there. So not out there, but my space, I converted it to an exhibition, like my
Oh,
actual
Okay, no,
studio
that's what's
space.
up.
My
I
son
made
loves art. He
Please bring him
draws
by.
really, really well as well.
Please-
And
please-
I would love to bring him. He
Yeah.
just graduated, so that'll be a nice, fun thing to
Mhm,
do.
No,
definitely.
Look, we just had 2 open houses where it's when the museum opens its doors and you can see, because it's a contemporary museum in Jersey. Let me plug them for a bit, because a lot of
Yes.
people, a lot of people
Absolutely,
don't know that they're
absolutely.
there. So a lot bigger than, so my studio is one thing, and I'll get to that, but the whole museum, so it's the Manna Contemporary in Jersey City, New Jersey. So it's near Journal Square. So if you're
Okay.
familiar with Jersey, or you're familiar with just the PATH train, it's really close. It's Journal Square. I don't know if y'all been to Little India, but you pass the Little India,
Mhm.
then the warehouse, and the museum's there. So it's a contemporary museum, so it has exhibitions, just like you would go to the MoMA or the
Mhm.
Contemporary Museum
Okay.
here in New York. And then within that museum, they also house artist studios. So a lot similar to like music studios, but more
Okay.
for art, and more centered around that. So what they do is every so often they have open houses where all the artists open their doors.
Okay.
And so you get a mixture of the exhibitions and then artist workspace.
Oh,
Wow,
And
okay.
so we just had 2, so you missed those, but it's fine.
Okay.
What I love to do, and what a lot of the artists that I have met so far there, we've kind of all gotten to know each other a little bit by little bit. You start meeting
Right,
people.
right.
And so like recently, I just had 2 people visiting from out of state, and what happens is I'll walk by, see who's around, bring you to other artist studios so you can see what they're doing. So
Right.
if
It's like a community.
it's a community, and so you guys are more than welcome to come visit me, and if you let me know, maybe I can also schedule you guys to visit other artists studios,
Okay,
you
no,
know,
that's
and you
what's
can
up.
see a
That's
couple
definitely
things,
something
and
to plan.
I'm open for the conversation. I kind of made it that way for that, and I don't know if people have gotten the drift of that yet, but I made
They
this-
will now.
they
Yes.
will. It's an installation, but it's a conversation piece itself. The room, like I want to
Wow.
communicate with people, and I love to perform. I'm seeking to perform. It's been like 2 years since the whole pandemic, but that's a whole other story.
Let's
But
get it.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
Well, let's make sure we talk afterwards because there's
Yes,
lots of
'cause
places to
it-
perform.
Exactly.
for sure, I've been getting in that groove of things. But
Me too.
yeah. I got to talk about LJ too.
I love it.
But basically, I thought it would be another way to communicate, because when you're rocking, LJ, right? When you're performing, sometimes you come, you rock, and it's beautiful.
Yes.
But it's a more calmer setting for you to
Mhm.
actually have a conversation, right? Because when you're rocking, there's so much stuff going through your head, the
Right,
energy,
yes.
you're talking to people. So I was like, I dropped the EP and I dropped this exhibition and everything at the same time.
Okay.
So yeah, it was basically like an audio visual experience, but set up for people that even if you didn't come to the launch or come to the open houses, you can schedule a one-on-one, come by, check it out,
Wow.
have a
Okay.
conversation.
No,
So
that's dope.
I love the
So
way
that's
that
That's
ongoing.
dope. A
Yeah.
personal
We gonna be there.
consultation.
yeah, right. I guess that's kind of what it is.
I love it. Listen, however it works,
For sure.
however you bring the people, you get the recognition, you make them feel comfortable.
Definitely.
Right? Because we giving a service, so we have to.
Absolutely. And I mean, so much value comes from those one-on-one interactions.
Oh yeah. I've had some
Absolutely. Love it.
really beautiful moments with people, with even sometimes just opening my door, which sometimes I could be a little bit in my world, but opening the doors and just random people coming by, and like that's happened a few times. I've had a lot of meaningful conversations this year, so I appreciate everybody that I've interacted with so far, artists, non-artists. I mean, we're all artists in a certain way, but like
Yes.
Right.
people. I've had
People.
good conversations with people this year, and I'm grateful.
That's
for that.
beautiful.
Yeah, people opening up
Yeah.
a lot
Yes.
this year.
I peeped that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people are more open and feel more comfortable with telling, their side of the story.
Yeah.
Definitely.
know,
I mean, I
what
think
they went through in 2
we're
years.
opening up. So then
Yeah.
it's like we're opening the door for the people to
people
open
to-
up to us.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what's something that I think about? I finally have a place to get it off my chest.
Let
Let it out,
It's
let
like
it
a
out.
conversation that I've been having with myself for like the last few years or months.
Well, you have you have another new friend, so you can
Awesome.
come and talk to us.
I
Yes.
appreciate that.
Anytime.
But just I wish that I noticed, and I'm sure this is like a common topic, but the way that I'll address it is like this: is like there's so much miscommunication. Sometimes miscommunication has
Is-
always been my pet peeve since a kid. Like it drove me crazy. I could barely stand history class when we got into certain topics. So I'm like,
Yes.
all right,
I can get it.
yeah, but communication, right?
is key.
And so like I wish that people, sometimes things get misconstrued, right? And things happen from one perspective and
Mhm.
it's received differently from another
Right.
perspective. So sometimes you can just feel that two people may not be meshing over a misunderstanding,
Right.
over, like they say, it could all maybe be a conversation might do a lot, but
Mhm.
sometimes people don't get to that point.
Right.
I just wish people, like, if there was something that they felt uncomfortable with another human being, to not be afraid to approach
To
and
talk about it.
It's just like
to
that.
talk about it.
It's just like an unsettling
It
energy.
is.
And sometimes
Absolutely.
I see that happen so often.
It is.
Mhm.
And I'm like, how do I address this? So I don't say I have the answers to anything, but I just feel like sometimes just that step forward of saying,
Talking.
hey,
Absolutely.
you hurt my feelings when you did
Right,
this.
right.
Or you or
You made
was
me
this-
feel a certain
yeah,
way when you said
definitely,
that.
Yeah.
definitely.
And
Yeah.
not saying, well, I didn't do that, because you cannot go against something someone told you they feel. Because that too, you know
Right,
what I mean?
'cause
Because
everybody's
people are like,
feelings are valid.
yeah, everyone's feeling. And if
Yeah.
you felt like that, my fault that I made you feel like that, but I did such and such. And I am like that. I hate to put myself involved, but my mom taught us that. She's like, if you have a problem with someone, you tell them. You don't go tell fulano de tal. You don't go
Yeah,
say
yeah,
to somebody else,
exactly.
because all that's gonna happen is gonna be a bochinche, and they're gonna come back and say that you said this and you said that. Tell the person. And 95% of the time when
Right,
I
it's a
go to that person,
misunderstanding.
it's a misunderstanding. Like, oh no, I didn't say
Yeah.
that. Oh no, and then they're like, oh, this person. Then you get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there's a whole bunch of nonsense. And that's happening now too, because people were
Yeah.
like so separated from each other. So it's like
Yeah.
you go out or they see you or you hanging out with
Yeah.
this person and they're like, oh, everybody's talking. It's like, hello, like talk to me
Yeah.
and ask
Right.
me the questions because y'all over here talking about shit y'all don't know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You heard me?
But yeah, I think it's deep. Like it's a simple thing, but that could do a lot, right?
No, it definitely can do a
It
lot.
can do a lot.
That's a fact.
Miscommunication is fucked up.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
That
absolutely.
shit will take you with family, with
And
friends.
that's
with,
where it starts too. Family is
yeah.
the
Yes.
key. We seen that happen first is in our
It's
family.
In our
yeah,
family,
we have family.
absolutely.
Yeah. They see us with
Absolutely.
my family and they're like, oh my God, you and your family, they're so beautiful and everybody's so cool because we have family fucking meetings. We sit down. No, we do.
I love it.
We
I
have
love
family
it.
meetings. You was this way. You should not be like that. But
That's
we're not
great.
down talking. We're not going to the
No, of
person to
course not,
say
'cause it's
my sister was doing
based
this
on
and
love.
It's based on love. You need to fix yourself because that's not the right way.
That's
And it is what
beautiful.
it is.
Definitely.
And we communicate. And
That's-
that's key. That's
No, it's
key. It's
absolutely
not about
key.
everything is perfect and we don't have no problems in my family or no one. No, it's we communicate. And
Yo,
that's
shout outs to your family.
Yeah,
Yo,
yeah,
what's the
the
last
beautiful
Torres
family.
Torres family.
yeah,
Shout outs
Torres
to them for
Mojito.
them,
Yes.
Yes.
for
My
them-
family's my
for them-
mom's very vocal.
for them family meetings, man. That's epic. Good
Yeah,
for
about
y'all.
everything. We know
Definitely.
everybody's
Love that.
business. I'm like, why are you talking about me? They're like, no, we telling you. But yeah, it's important. That I agree 1,000%.
Absolutely.
Communication is key. And I'd be ready to talk all
All
day.
I hear
I'm
that.
like, let's talk about it.
I
Because if
hear
you feel a
that.
certain way, I feel a certain way. And I'm becoming very vocal.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like I
Oh,
used
you
to be
wasn't vocal?
I wasn't as vocal. I mean, let me rephrase myself. I wasn't honest.
Right. That's what it really
I
comes
wasn't
down to.
honest
Okay.
with people
About
because-
how they made you feel.
about how they made
Mhm.
me feel because I felt if I say that I'm gonna make them feel bad.
Right.
But who gave a shit if they made me feel bad? Right?
Absolutely.
And I didn't
Right.
care because then I could just boo-hoo in my house, whatever,
Mhm.
and get over it, or tell whatever who I wanted to tell about it and then get over it.
Right.
But that wasn't helping me because I was doing the exact same thing that my mom taught me not to
Right.
do.
Right.
Now I'm like looking in their eye and I'm like, no, I don't want to do that.
Right.
No, that'll make me feel comfortable.
No, and it's
No, that don't-
important.
Yes,
It's definitely
it feels
important.
so good. It feels amazing because I got people used to.
Right, the old way. No, I definitely
if-
understand that. I definitely
You have to
do.
relearn me.
Yeah, and I
If
think
you don't know me yesterday, you got to learn me.
that's another thing too. We're always changing. We're always growing. So
Absolutely.
who you met 2 months ago or who
Right.
you met last year might not be
It's
where
not
I'm at
me.
today.
I'm
that's
like, did you-
that's a fact.
Yeah.
and where that person is now either. So we got to give each other
Room.
a little bit more
More
room
credit
and understand
and a
that we're
little
all
bit more
growing.
credit
Definitely.
to
Yeah.
say. I was like, they was asking me a question, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. And they were like, oh, I'm like, did you check my Instagram?
She's
you know-
booked and busy.
Hello, I'm like, I was in a movie, like.
Oh, snap. That's
Yeah,
what's
the
up.
movement, the movie.
Yeah,
I
shout
was
out
in
to
I'm a
Bobby
model.
Stone.
Shout out to Bobby
Ah,
Stone. That's my guy. We have something coming July 9th.
Ah,
Yes,
that's awesome.
yes, yes.
It's
I will
his
be on the panel,
birthday.
so make sure you
Yes, you're
check
gonna
it
be on
in the
the
Bobby Stone
panel.
and Friends concert
That's what's up.
afterwards.
Yes, but it's like, no, it's like you gotta say no.
Right.
Yeah.
I say yes to a lot of things, to good things, but
Right.
you gotta learn to put your down and say, I'm not gonna tolerate that. You're not gonna treat me like
Absolutely,
that and think I'm gonna be
absolutely.
like, oh, the brighter side. No.
No, it's
No,
very true.
I'm gonna say no to that, and then I'm gonna move on, and I'm gonna be a kind person, but I'm gonna tell you to your face.
Right.
Yes.
I had to let
No,
that
and
out.
it,
Feel
I
you,
mean, it
sis.
takes a lot of work
Oh.
to just work on yourself to overcome your own shit.
Yes.
So, like, it's not your responsibility to take on other people's shit.
no, because
Especially not after you're diligently working on yourself.
Yes.
It's like, no, thank you.
No, because you use other people as outlets.
Mm.
You deal with certain people and then you're like frustrated because this, and then
Oh,
you don't
yeah.
say what you say, and then you go and you want to,
Right. Yell at your kids.
yeah,
No,
yes.
yeah, but
That's not
yeah.
fair. You know
No.
what I mean? Just because he spilled the water. It's like, no, that's not where your anger
Yeah,
should be. You
right.
should tell people how you feel, get that shit off your chest,
And
deal with what you're
move
gonna deal
on.
with, and move on. Whether they like it or not, you leave with love.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's a lot of unintentional projecting that we do even to our loved ones, to our friends,
Absolutely.
because we're not dealing with the things that are really bothering us. And,
Right.
and it happens, like we slip up, like happens to me all the time. I got to catch myself, be like, oh wait, I'm really mad at this right now. I'm really
Yes.
not mad, but like this has me a little bit flustered.
Absolutely.
Let me take a step back. Like a lot of those times I like to retreat and be to myself
Mhm.
when I'm going through stuff like that, because I don't want to put
That on
something onto somebody.
And
by
some people
accident,
may
you know?
Well,
take
that's
that
very
wrong
responsible
too.
of
It
you.
is responsible, but some people may take that wrong.
Right.
They're like, "Oh, well, you didn't call me, or you
Yeah.
know, just certain things." And it's like people put themselves involved, and it's like you have to look at the
Right.
outside and say,
Yeah.
if I was dealing with something, how would I want someone to treat me? Like to
Yeah.
each his own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, people are always going to misinterpret things. You
Yeah, it
know?
happens,
So
you
there
know.
definitely needs to be room for that. And we each need to just still love them anyway.
Yes.
And recognize that that's because they're coming from their own perspective of something that's unresolved with them. It doesn't necessarily mean you did something to them.
That's true.
You know? Because I mean, I know even for myself, like I work constantly to maintain a vibration of peace. So if I step into some sort of situation and it's not peaceful, I immediately feel it because that's not my normal
That's
state,
not my-
this
yeah.
discord.
Oh yeah,
You know what I'm
absolutely.
saying? So now I've become more vigilant in addressing things immediately because
Yes.
you messing with my peace. And it's not even that they're messing with my peace. Something that's going on here is
It's
making
messing-
me feel a kind of way.
Uncomfortable.
Right.
So I need to make sure I resolve that for myself because I love myself and this is part of self-care.
I'd be like, "Oh no, I'm out of here." I'm like, deuces, peace. I'm not even dealing with none of it. Like, I don't want nothing that's gonna torment my peace right now. Like, it's hard work.
Yes.
It's hard work. It's a lot of good thoughts that
Absolutely.
override, bad things that are happening.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
But we here every Thursday.
You know what it is. The
Talking
brighter
that good
side.
word. Yes, we've been here for an hour. And I
Time
don't like
flies
it.
when you're with
flew.
amazing
I
people.
even felt like it was an hour. I was looking at my phone right now. I was like, oh snap.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
is there any final thought that you wanted to say before we have to close out?
Oh, well, I want to first and foremost thank the Brighter Side Podcast for having me here. I heard the name Brighter Side Podcast. I like that because it was positive. A lot of times we could dwell on the negative, so that automatically I was like, yo, I like that. LJ the
Thank you.
Peacemaker, shout outs to her.
Thank you.
I always remember the song she came and recorded at the studio. I have it on DVD actually.
Oh my
Yeah,
God, bring that. We need that here.
And I'm trying to remember the hook. I don't want to slaughter it, so I'm not gonna say it right
that's
now.
right.
But you know,
That's right. That's right.
yeah, that
yeah.
was the song.
that's right, right?
Mhm.
Is hip hop really still
Ew,
alive?
that's right. Are you battle breaking or graphing still?
That's right,
Still
yeah.
nice with them scratching skills.
Let's get it. You know I had to bring it up.
Yes,
So-
that was a produced too by Jesus himself. So shout out to Jesus
Yeah,
himself.
shout out to Jesus himself. As well.
Yes.
He
Oh,
produced
dope.
on my first album as well. So for real,
Oh,
shout out
I'm
to
gonna
him.
check
Yes,
that
yes.
out. I gotta see that.
But
gonna
yeah,
work.
just I guess the final thoughts is I want to thank anybody who's been supporting and following Physical Graffiti. I know it hasn't been easy throughout the years. There was times where I was online, offline, but I've been here. I've been making music for a while. I've been involved in art and culture in the community. I love Hudson County, New Jersey. I'm always trying to connect with people out there and empower those that are from my area, but really just all human
Yes.
kind, you know what I'm saying? Always trying to grow as a person first and foremost. And thank you to everybody who's come and supported Word Shapes and Colors. If you haven't yet, please stop by the website or come by to the location. I'm always my doors are always open for a conversation. And yeah, a lot more music coming out, a lot more art. And yeah, keep in tune. Physical
That's what's
Graffiti,
up.
Word
Make
Shapes
sure
and
you
Colours.
follow her on Instagram, Word Shapes and Colors.
Yes.
Thank you. And thank y'all again for having me.
Thank
Appreciate that.
you.
Our absolute pleasure. All right, so let's make sure we do the intention of the day
love the
before
intention
we
of the
close
day.
out. So the intention for today is I celebrate myself and I acknowledge that I am my own hero. So let's repeat that one more time.
Okay.
I celebrate myself and I acknowledge that I am my own hero. So
love
you
that.
listening out there, you take that with you. and you allow that to carry you
I
through
love-
the days, the weeks, until you catch us next week here on the brighter
Yes.
side.
We love ya. Thank you for
Bless,
watching.
bless.
Thank you for tuning in. Our supporters, the love is amazing. We here every Thursday, 9 p.m. DTF Radio. Shout out to Care at Haven Lounge.
yes.
That's our people's, our sponsor. Our one and only sponsor. We need another sponsor. We'll
Yes,
talk about
so
it.
hit us up, people.
Hit us up
because
to
we
be on
would
our
love
show.
to support
Yes.
you, shout you out, promote you, and to align you with the brighter side of things.
Yes. And if you want to be in our show, be sure to DM us.
Yes, and
Or-
also DM me to join my email list because I got a lot of events scheduled right now that are coming up. So if you want to be in the know about it, definitely DM me with your email address, and I will notify you. You'll be the first to hear about it.
In other words, she is booked and busy, bitches. Words have strength, but action has power. Action has strength, words have power. We here every Thursday. We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.
Peace. Thank y'all.
Kyle them tick like dumpling, all damn bad, stunting. Them gyal say we sweet like pumpkin. True, Kyle them tick like dumpling.